You've seen VOLKMAR vanquish a foul Herald of Nurgle, but what about the big bad of Total War Warhammer 3? That's right, folks. VOLKMAR the Grim facing off against who else but BELAKOR himself out in the distance. I am playing against the Demons of Chaos. BELAKOR is also available for the Warriors, I believe, at least as of the time of recording this. But VOLKMAR, I guess, has some lore, according to Lore Master of Sotek. He was telling me that BELAKOR and VOLKMAR have some history, so this is very appropriate, vanquishing the first Demon Prince. Yeah, to go over the starting armies here, I've got VOLKMAR the Grim, some Free Company Militia, already summoning in some more Free Company and Spears over there. From reserves, I've got 3 Flagellants and the Sigmar's Sons, so nice unbreakable starting army with a little bit of range potential as well. Bright Wizard is going to be the order of the day against Demons, since obviously my opponent is playing Demons of Chaos. I can guarantee they're bringing all demon units, and for the most part, demon units lack armor but have physical resistance. Therefore, this Flaming Sword of Ruin will help boost my missile and melee units to be able to do an extra 40% damage while Kindle Flame is active, and then an extra 20% just from the magic to cut through the physical resistance, as well as a little bit of extra from the base weapon and missile damage there also. A couple of Knights of the Blazing Sun here, hidden in the woods. For my opponent, BELAKOR, with a couple of Bloodletters. He's got blues and the Blazing Squealers, Regiment of Renowned Pinks. Got some Plague Toads up there with some Flesh Hounds up on the high ground. Some more Flesh Hounds over here. And let's go ahead and check out exactly which of those units was in reserve. For my Empire, pretty much the same as last time. I've got a lot of Vanguard Missile Troops, 3 Huntsmen, 3 Free Company, and 4 Pistoliers, plus 2 Spears, 2 Great Swords, and a Warrior Priest for additional prayer buffs and the Banner of Eternal Flame. For the Legion of Chaos in reserve here, got a Soul Grinder of Slaanesh, Fiends, 2 Seekers, Beast of Nurgle, some Flesh Hounds, Pink Horrors, 2 Furies, and another Blue Horror. Let's get back to it. And now here we are back in full speed. So again, the Flaming Sword of Ruin has quickly become one of my favorite spells. For any faction that has access to this, you're fighting the Monogods, if you're fighting Demons of Chaos and you expect to have to fight a lot of demonic units, we want to give you a huge damage spike. So we're going to go ahead and put that into action here. Flaming Sword of Ruin on both of these Free Company Militia as they open fire on the Bloodletters here, and I'll just keep the health bars up. Of course, the range damage, as demonstrated in this and many other videos, is quite effective against demons in general because of the lack of armor, but especially when you get the extra magic and Kindle Flame. Of course, VOLKMAR also does fire damage, so that little Kindle Flame proc would have also impacted them there. And I've actually they got Warp Flame on contact. That's interesting. Somehow those Bloodletters got Warp Flamed, which give them even more weakness to fire. Interesting. I didn't know. Maybe they turned back on friendly contact effects. Anyway, we got some Fiends rushing in here. The Bloodletters do make contact with the Free Company in the front line, but let's get in close as VOLKMAR charges back through his own lines and then turns around to help stop up the Fiends. Drops all of his buffs. The Flagellants, actually, in a swarm against the Fiends, should do just fine because they can outnumber them so heavily, despite the Soporific Musk and everything else going off. The Fiends just get outnumbered so heavily, even with the Bloodletter support. So pretty good stuff. We're also going to continuously sling fireballs at BELAKOR. Not too happy about that. Going to go over here and smash this Empire Wizard, but Knights of the Blazing Sun in a position to screen. Meanwhile, over on the side objective here, Spears and Free Company defending together against the Plague Toads. This is something we've seen before, but actually, I don't remember. I think you did take some Plague Toads in that Nurgle video. I've recorded so many games in between now and then, things are becoming a little bit of a blur. But anyway, another big Flaming Sword of Ruin here to help finish off those Fiends, and I'll keep the health bars up once again so you can see the difference in damage, which is fairly significant. Flagellants have definitely taken a beating here, but punching back hard. Knights of the Blazing Sun pushing forward, getting those Flesh Hounds in a forward charge there. So Empire against Demons of Chaos definitely feels pretty decent for the Empire. With the Monogods factions, once they get their mortal warrior units, assuming they all get, access to heavily armored, like Warriors of Chaos, they might be a little bit tougher, honestly, than Demons, because Demons of Chaos, the lack of armor definitely tells pretty hard. We've got some Huntsmen coming in as well to provide some nice anti-large damage against BELAKOR. Like, even BELAKOR himself falls into that category of low armor, right? Only 45, which is, I wouldn't even consider medium armor. I mean, it's a little bit arbitrary, but I would consider medium armor like 50 plus, and he is not even at that point, which is pretty sad for him. But there you go. Free Company Militia turning to fire. We've got Undivided Furies swooping in to try and get at those huntsmen and shut them down, but at this point, I've just got a very decisive kind of presence advantage. You can see my opponent's army is pretty thin. Part of that is because Belakor is so expensive, even relatively thinned out in terms of his kit. It still just costs a lot to bring. He's going to have to get a lot of work done, and against the overwhelming ranged fire of the Empire here, it's pretty painful stuff. He's not able to really engage like he wants to. So more Flaming Sword of Ruin on the Huntsmen as they all continue to pressure Belakor away. A little bit painful as he does fully maneuver away. And nice play by my opponent to get these Flesh Hounds up and around here, finish off those weakened Knights of the Blazing Sun so that he can now bring some Furies in here to hunt the Huntsmen. Of course, I've still got supplies, and I'm going to bring in my patented Pistoliers, try and blast those winged horrors out of the sky. Nice bit of shades there once again from Belakor, and I'm going to respond with a cheeky fireball. Let's see where it lands. Pretty big target. Nice hit on the center mass. A little bit weird, actually, but that's okay. And VOLKMAR continuing to just maraud in the front line. The Flesh Hounds come in to try and get at the objective, but VOLKMAR is just such a strong presence at this point. So another banishment going to be unleashed. Somehow the Blazing Squealer is still online. They've probably used their ammo refill by now, actually. But unfortunately, they just haven't been able to establish enough of an infantry presence on this objective to fully secure it. Like this very tattered, kind of ragged band of flagellants manages to hold back temporarily. The Bloodletters, Knights of the Blazing Sun come charging in. Hot Soulfire of VOLKMAR gets dropped. Grand Shield of Faith as well to help him resist some of the ranged fire. Let's see, he's got 15% innate missile resistance. Jade Griffin, of course, also gives him regeneration, but the spell resistance used to be magic resistance, so certainly he will be more vulnerable to Zinc shooting than he would have been otherwise, but not particularly vulnerable. The armor also helps. Heavy 100 armor debuff down to 90 currently from Warp Flame. Certainly enough to help resist. Generally, heavy armor units are pretty good at not getting killed by Zinc shooting units, and Demons, that's all the shooting they get access to, so heavy armor units are not too much risk of getting sniped, but another really nice Pit of Shades there. Does an insane amount of damage to those Huntsmen, and you know, it's a desperate time when you're kind of throwing your Pistoliers around. I think we're actually trying to bait these Seekers away from the objective, because my opponent's now coming forward with his 2 Pinks. If he were to stand on the objective with the Pinks and get the Seekers, you know, with the Flesh Hounds, he might be able to actually amass enough capture weight to start to wrest this objective. You can see it was starting to tick up ever so slightly. Still just keeping those other 2 units in a defensive force at objective number 1 there, and trying to continue to hold the center. VOLKMAR getting lit up quite literally by the Pinks there, and quickly approaching his healing cap. If VOLKMAR goes down, I'm probably going to have some issues, but if we're able to hold out for long enough, it should be okay. Blazing Squealers fighting in melee, allowing their buddies to just fire away. And they really haven't taken much true HP damage, and the value trade is starting to tell a little bit in the center. I brought in some great swords from reserve, trying to just get a little bit heavier armor to hold. Of course, the armor piercing of the Seekers comes to hunt them. That being said, by charging the great swords, they leave themselves vulnerable to a counter rear charge by the beautiful Knights of the Blazing Sun, and that is going to be a quick, decisive defeat of the Seekers. They cannot hold up to the high charge plus Kindled Flame of those Knights of the Blazing Sun. Another little fireball cuts through some of those pinks and blues. Belakor tries to come finish off VOLKMAR. The Knights of the Blazing Sun, standing firm, will not allow the Grand Theogonist to be felled by the foul beast Belakor. Oh man, so awesome. Another beautiful Pit of Shades. The spell resistance, Grand Shield of Faith, both going to help stave off somewhat of that damage. 45% less damage, so yeah, Knights of the Blazing Sun might have got one-shotted by that if they didn't get Grand Shield of Faith. But certainly the base spell resistance does help as well against a faction that can bring lots of spell damage like Demons of Chaos can. VOLKMAR now perhaps going to get finished off, but we'll see. Him and Belakor are in quite the pitched duel of the fates. We brought in the reserve Warrior Priest just because I know I'm likely to lose VOLKMAR at this point. So in order to still have access to the prayer buffs and also give an area of effect fire damage that will synergize well with that Kindle Flame, got the patented Warrior Priest, and there goes Belakor, felled, I think probably by the Warrior Priest. Let's say by VOLKMAR. VOLKMAR certainly is going to take credit for it. Another little fireball just cuts through and actually fells models of the Blazing Squealers. Squealers being used to deploy into combat here, and it's a pretty decisive advantage for me so far. But starting to get a little bit thin in the center. At this point, though, I only need to defend objective number 1, so we're going to continue to try and tie up here as much as possible, certainly. But at the end of the day, I'm not actually mad if I lose this objective at this point. Pistolier is going to do their best impression of a melee unit and just die horribly. VOLKMAR continuing to fight as well. The Blazing Squealers can't really hold him back. His mass is much too thick, but only 1200 HP left. Will he be able to survive to the bitter end? Perhaps. Got some more Fleshhounds coming through here. Furies rush in, counting as infantry. They're not going to be subject to the anti-large bonus of the Empire Spears here. Wow, the Warrior Priest horse sure is shiny. All those barded Empire war horses are ridiculously shiny almost, but hey, there you go. Nice little Soulfire there. Fleshhounds probably not going to take too much at all from that due to their spell resistance. Got the Sigmar's Son's back in here. Pistolier's back in here. Just outmaneuvering those Fleshhounds. Sigmar's Son's going to get into combat. Oh, I missed VOLKMAR going down. Yep, he got eaten by Fleshhounds. There you go. So, both of us end up losing our Lord at this point, but one more big flaming sword of ruin just to finish things off on the Pistolier line. Yes, that's right, lads. Double pistol shots as they face the pink fire, and there it is. Beautiful game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. I fully admit that's a little bit of that one's more for me than anything else because I enjoyed that game so much playing it. No, that's not the most competitive game necessarily, but Empire definitely feels very good against Demons of Chaos. I think there's really, even with Belakor being as strong as he is, there's no reason in my mind why Demons of Chaos shouldn't be available for multiplayer in general, ranked, and, you know, in tournaments and whatnot. So I'm definitely going to push for that. But anyway, Knights of the Blazing Sun do a great job. They pretty much pay for themselves. Free Company also quite nice. Basically, all of my starting army performed more or less what I needed them to. Huntsmen also excellent value. Pistoliers doing Pistolier stuff. It's kind of nice all the way around. And then in the fourth quarter, the Warrior Priest coming to finish things up. Quite nice. Belakor gets a lot of value. I think probably does pay for himself at the end of the day. Same thing with the Blazing Squealers. No question they pay for themselves. But unfortunately, having that ranged unit kind of back off of the objective meant that my opponent had a lot of funds here that wasn't participating in capturing the objective. Means that his actual capture forces ended up being pretty thin. And let's see. Yeah, didn't have any elite infantry or anything. Probably would have been better to just go with a swarm of mid-tier infantry, like the Soul Grinders. I find tend not to pay for themselves. Fiends also, while I like them to counteract heavy cavalry to rush them into that center objective with a lot of damage coming their way, it's a little bit tough. So just think maybe you need a wider amount of mid-tier units. Maybe cut these elites and just have your Belakor as your one elite. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.